Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen and I am your host. And today we have a very special guest, Tom Logan, who is the co-founder and CEO of NYC-based Cohley, the platform that's helping brands generate the content they need to win at every step of the consumer journey. Welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Arlen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. We're going to be kind of diving deep into optimizing product pages across, a brand's different platforms and the retail sites, as well as the use of product reviews and video testimonials, which is a huge thing these days. Because I tell you what, I don't think there's too many products I purchase online where I don't check the reviews or testimonials. And,
Absolutely.
if I'm like anybody else, then I think there's a lot of people that are in the same way. So I think it's very important. And I think it's going to be a great discussion for us today. But before we dive into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I'm Tom. Pleasure to be here with you again. My background is in social media marketing into the sort of early origins of user-generated content. So I was working at a startup in Silicon Valley with my co-founder, Eric. And basically what we were doing at that startup was helping consumer brands find photos, occasionally videos that ordinary people were posting on their behalf, and helping them get rights to it, identify, get rights to it, and then put it up in strategic points in the consumer journey. So could be in social media channels, or it could be directly on the website, kind of right at the point of purchase as a way to add validation, social proof, and oftentimes just help would-be consumers see themselves in the product, right? Versus just like a model or stock photography that's a little bit more buttoned up. So we see the rise of influencer marketing right around 2015, 2016. And with our perspective on user-generated content, we see the answer to all of our problems in sort of the emerging creator economy. Individuals who had very clear competency and clear skill sets around creating content, in addition to having influence and reach and social clout that could also move the needle for consumer brands. And basically what we did was we set out to build a platform that would connect those same consumer brands, many of whom we used to work with at our past company, and connected them with different pockets of content creators, influencers, could be ordinary people doing product reviews, photographers, really any type of content that they needed, we could supply them with that. So our mission is not to come in and replace all of the content that a brand creates, but the fact is that brands need more content today than they've ever needed before. Think about TikTok, speaking to different demographics, the need to constantly be testing. So, it's just outrageous how much content the marketer of today needs.
Yeah.
So, we help them turn that content pain into a bona fide strength and help them utilize the content that they generate with us in the areas that it's most valuable. So, work with a lot of paid teams, e-com teams, as well as branded influencer teams.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I can definitely feel the pain of e-commerce businesses when it comes to, like you said, the content pain, the pain of coming up with all of this content for the various
It's
platforms.
endless.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's endless, and
Yes.
it's only increasing. It's like the more you feed the beast, the more it's gonna get hungry.
Hungry. Yeah.
The
Stomach
more it's
gets
gonna,
bigger. Yeah.
yeah, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger, and you have to keep
Exactly.
feeding it. So it's good and bad. Of course, it's good in the fact that there's all of these different platforms, and it opens up so many different channels for a brand to expose themselves and to pull customers from. So
Hmm.
that's always a big
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, we believe that content is really the connection point between a brand
Yep.
and a consumer. Sometimes
Yep.
we'll ask people to try to envision Nike without
Yeah.
without any of their content. It's hard to picture the brand without it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Now, you kind of have already talked about the rise, and from everything that you guys are doing internally at Cohley, you've already talked about this whole rise of user generated content. And when a brand is thinking about product reviews and video testimonials,
Hmm.
how really crucial is it, the authenticity portion of that? How crucial is that? And with this shift of the user generated content, I mean, do you
Hmm.
see people kind of shying away from polished pieces of marketing materials, collaterals, and reviews versus just this user generated stuff?
Very much so. So,
Okay.
in general, consumers, what they're after is feeling a sense of authenticity coming from a brand, and they're looking for connection,
Hmm.
and really they want to believe that the products that they're buying or the faith that they're putting in a company is going to result in a smart purchase, right? So, if you think about what's happened in e-commerce specifically in the last 3 years, and we've accelerated 5 to 10 years beyond forecasts. Like a lot of these COVID trends, especially in certain categories like grocery, have accelerated and stuck, which is
Hmm.
great. But that means that brands need to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward across these digital channels, or else they're going to lose not only e-commerce market share, but commerce market share. And when we look at the influence of online reviews, of online content on in-store sales, I mean, it's mind-blowing. Something like 55% of all in-store purchases are considered digitally influenced now.
Wow.
And one of the SVPs at Lowe's the other day came out and said that in their research they're finding that 70% of in-store purchases are initially researched on Lowe's.com.
Hmm.
And not to mention the fact that like more and more individuals, something like 68% of individuals would rather consult reviews in store than talk to an actual store clerk.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we think about the importance of these digital platforms, sure, we can talk about conversion rates and page optimization across their own .com as well as their retail partners, but the read online, buy offline impact is very, very real. So all this
Mhm.
stuff is interconnected.
Yeah, yeah, that's an amazing stat that you said from Lowe's, as far as 70% of people going online first before going
Hmm.
over to the store, and I can understand that. I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that these days everyone is so busy, and so whereas decades ago, when there wasn't, our lives weren't so I guess you could say consumed with so much stuff, things were a little bit more simpler, where
Hmm.
people, on a Saturday, they'd go to the hardware store, browse around, figure out what they want, ask questions.
Hmm.
These days, people that have families, may have kids, there are, a million things going on. So they're
Hmm.
strategic. So if you go online first and kind of figure out your direction before going into the store, I can see where people are kind of leaning towards that route. And so,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's,
not to mention that, a lot of times when you see an in-store display now,
yep,
it'll have digital social proof
true.
actually listed right there on the store display, product
Yeah,
reviews from the actual website,
yeah,
user-generated images.
yeah.
So the interconnectedness between digital and real life purchasing processes it's really crazy how it's developed.
Yeah, it really has. Now, speaking of kind of user generated content and social proof, what do you when we're looking at video testimonials, how does that have an effect if somebody has that on their brand site? How does that have an effect on
Yeah.
conversion rates? There are certain industries where the effect is greater than in others.
hmm So I'd say it's important real quickly to differentiate between what you might consider to be an influencer video,
Mhm.
which is a little bit more produced, text overlay, royalty-free music, kind of more interactive. This person clearly knows what they're doing. And just a video testimonial that's essentially just a video version of a product review from a normal consumer, meaning they don't have a ton of influence. It could just be, you know, a mom who's searching for products for her kids or something like that. But it's generally can just be like a selfie testimonial type of thing. Might look very raw, but what those videos do when put at the point of purchase is one, they supplement the actual text reviews, help bring it to life a little bit, and two, what there'll be a visual representation of the product.
Yeah.
These individuals are talking about things that matter to them, or talking the would-be consumer through their own unique buying purchase and what was important to them, what they found in this product and why they really like it. Ultimately, like you hinted at this earlier, Arlen, but people really trust outside individuals, real consumers, a lot more than they do brands,
Mhm.
right? And by being able to tap into these communities of real people to help generate this content, to tell this trustworthy brand story, to actually validate what you're talking about as a brand, I mean, that is just so critical. The era of just believing what a brand says and tells you about its products at face value is long gone. And
Yeah.
the consumer journey isn't necessarily linear. You're reading product reviews, you're going to the one-star reviews and trying to see what's going on with those.
Mhm.
You're watching content on TikTok, you're asking your friends, hey, what do you know about this brand? So, it's great to see e-commerce continue to spike, and it's great to see commerce as healthy as it's been. We haven't quite seen this consumer recession that everyone forecasted,
Yeah.
but it does put a lot of pressure on the brands to make sure, again, that they're putting their best foot forward, that they have the right content at the right places across the consumer journey,
Mhm.
and that they're using like really high trust, quality stuff from a content standpoint to build those connections and drive people all the way through to purchase.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. I think, yeah, brands definitely these days do realize that consumers aren't going to just trust everything that they say. They already know that we're in a whole word of mouth marketing
That's
economy,
right.
I guess you can say,
That's right.
where before making any purchase, so many people are always they're gonna go to all these sources. You mentioned TikTok, their friends, anyone that they know that may have done anything with the brand, purchased the products or services. They're gonna go
hmm
there first, and
And it's on the brand to get those, to push those dominoes down so that they
yeah,
start to compound, right?
yeah, for true, for
And that
sure,
can
for
that
sure.
can just be so, I mean, that can have so many different benefits from a customer acquisition cost
Hmm.
standpoint, overall market penetration standpoint. Like it's just, yeah, massive for brand trust and continued customer loyalty as well, not just the
Yeah,
initial purchase.
yeah, yeah, very true. Now, well, earlier on we talked a little bit about the user generated content, the explosion of it, and getting, affiliates and influencers putting this content out,
hmm
for your brand. Now, of course, a brand has their own marketing messaging and their language that they put out across the different platforms,
hmm
their .com sites, their retail sites, and so you have all of these different channels with the messaging going out. But specifically with the user generated content, I mean, how do you really, ensure the consistency of the messaging and the quality of it, especially if you've got all of these different partners putting out, representing your brand across these platforms? Is there a specific rule of thumb that a brand should follow?
Yeah. So if we're talking about social channels, then it's really important to not just bunch Instagram and TikTok into the same category, for
Yeah,
example, right? Like
yeah,
those channels may seem very similar, but they actually require a much different type of content.
right.
TikTok is much more creator driven. It's very raw, generally unproduced, while Instagram tends to be a little bit more brushed up, a little bit more polished
Yeah,
looking. if we're thinking about the distribution of, say, video reviews or product reviews across brand own.com and retail sites, that's where typically the brand is going to be using a digital asset management tool, a DAM, and then also a PIM, product information management product as well, so that they can update all of these listings across all of these retail sites in one central hub, and then disseminate those updates accordingly, right? Because otherwise, it just wouldn't necessarily be scalable to be managing, in some cases, 100 plus SKUs across all of these different retail sites. So you have this central single source of truth for all of these pages. And that doesn't mean that we don't have Amazon or Walmart specific strategies, but like as far as the sort of core content that lives on the product pages, that's generally the flow for brands.
Okay, gotcha. When it comes to the user generated content or affiliates, with them, of course, as a brand, you can have guidelines for the messaging that they need to follow. But of course, it's up to them to follow it, and it's up to them to really, do the right thing. I mean, is there any specific tips that a brand, as you suggest that a brand can do to kind of keep these partners on track?
Right. And there is, I'd be lying if I said there was no risk of brand damage when you're working with external creators. As we've continued to do more with enterprise type companies, the more we've realized that really what we need to do is provide them with bowling bumpers, which I should probably still be using too. If you saw my bowling, you'd be like, yeah. But,
you and me both.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I just can't figure it out. But anyhow, so we give them, the brand guidelines to stay within. But the way that the Cohley platform actually facilitates this is creators, influencers, folks on the platform all have their own portfolios, first party data within those portfolios that they maintain themselves and curate themselves. And then, they'll apply to work with a brand on a specific project. We call them creative brief, with ideas around what they might want to create for the brand, given all of the details that they've laid out in front of the creators. And they can apply with sample content, et cetera. And then there's also the additional step of the brand having the opportunity to review the content and approve it before it goes live within the platform, so that they can catch, potential, red flags or even just the usage of content that's not royalty free and could get them in trouble. So, it's important to be able to secure those general directional boundaries for brands. But when we're talking to brands about testing different content strategies, say on Instagram ads, we do want to encourage them to be open-minded and let the data help guide decision making. And that can be hard for folks who are, creative directors or more creative minded, because they're responsible for developing and maintaining this like brand ethos, these brand values. I completely get how that can be very challenging, which is why, again, we want to say, okay, we'll stay within these bowling bumpers, but within that, let's be open-minded and see what the data says about performance. And, we can take that data and improve our customer acquisition costs, win new clients that are new customers that maybe we didn't even think we had any sort of connection to or appeal with. So, always want marketers to be, rigid and clear about what is outside of the scope or what isn't acceptable, but then within it, make sure that they're willing to let the data guide decision making and ideally be the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah, that makes sense. I totally get it. Now, speaking of like reviews, testimonials, it's coming from actual customers. Negative reviews, of course, are inevitable.
Yes.
So, how do you guys advise brands to handle these potential, negative reviews and this feedback, and how can they actually leverage this to kind of be in their favor? Is there any strategy?
So to start, I, as a consumer, and data backs this up more broadly than just my own purchasing habits, when I see a product that has 2,000 5-star reviews and no other reviews, I'm immediately skeptical of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times too, and this is a power review statistic, a big player in the space, people who go straight to consulting 1-star reviews on a product
Hmm.
are actually more than 100% more likely to buy than someone who consults no reviews at all. And a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
times that's because they see the 1-star reviews and it's like, oh, there was a shipping snafu, or this made my skin break out because, I have oily skin. Like if I'm a consumer, I'm like, okay, well, seems like that's a kind of a one-off
Yeah.
shipping issue and I don't have oily skin. So great, I'm good. So
Hmm.
yeah, negative reviews can actually have the opposite effect and add confidence, add trust. What
Hmm.
we do with occasionally, I think you'll find this interesting, is we'll actually have clients take a specific product page with plenty of reviews. We'll have them put that URL into like a Google Bard or a Chat GPT,
Hmm.
and the prompt will be summarize the top 5 complaints or negative components of reviews about this product, and
Hmm.
then give me ad hooks that specifically address those and
Oh,
turn
wow.
them into positives, which
Okay.
is crazy. So
Yeah,
it's
that
this
is.
act of like really owning it. And
Yeah.
sometimes like if you're, if you're shopping for a product or researching a brand and you see them answer one of your hesitations or
Hmm.
concerns head on,
Yeah.
that's like a major, major thing. Like you'll see this occasionally if you notice social ads. I've noticed this is much more of a thing as of late. The opening hook will be, our products are expensive. Here's why.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, quality, the process of making it, they're doing
Hmm.
everything in the US, like,
Hmm.
whatever it might be. But
Hmm.
like all of a sudden you're struck by this like brand trust that
Yeah.
just kind of washes over you and you're like, wow, they really owned that.
Hmm.
Good for them. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it creates connection, and rather than sweeping these things under the rug, or trying to act like everything is perfect, like
Hmm.
let's just be authentic and own it. Like
Yeah.
we a few years ago, we worked with a client who was launching a new sort of CBD product, and you'd ingest it orally. And a bunch of this is pre-launch, so they wanted
Hmm.
reviews to support the launch. And a bunch of the reviewers said like, "Hey, product is great. I can't stand the taste."
Hmm.
And that client got so upset with us. We're like, why would your creators say this? Like they're getting free product. Our
Yeah.
take is like, you're welcome for the free focus group that you got
Yeah. Yeah.
here. And like, you should take these learnings. And by the way, it's not too late. I hate to
Hmm.
break it to you. People don't think the product tastes good. Like,
Right. Right.
and yeah, sure enough, they just got mad at us and didn't take our advice, and the product launch flopped. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you bring it, that was a great, I love that question of how do you respond to,
Yeah.
negative reviews or negative anecdotes. It can totally be used as a positive if you view them the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah, I see that. I see that. It's just embrace those things, hit it head on, like you said, a costly
Yeah.
product. Just say, yeah, we're expensive, but this is why. So,
Yeah. I love
yeah,
that.
it's just that kind of a preemptive strike, I guess you could say.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Now we're talking about reviews a lot, and now it's good to, of course, have them. It's an incredible social proof, but a lot of times, and this is what I see, not only from, my brand, but dealing with other e-commerce brands, is it is difficult to get these reviews sometimes because people are so busy. And so, are there any specific strategies that you can recommend a brand to obtain reviews from customers, whether it's just
Hmm.
text reviews or even video testimonials, which are of course even better, but they require a
Even
lot
harder to
more
get.
work
Yeah,
for the customer. So,
totally.
what would you recommend for pulling these?
Yeah. So even taking a step back, what we really want to see on a product page is at least 50 product reviews and
Okay.
ideally some videos, but we'll focus on the actual text reviews
Okay.
for now. Data from Bazaar Voice says that there's a 30% lift in conversions when there's at least 50 reviews. There's also the component of making sure that there are recent reviews left, because if I don't want to see a bunch of reviews from 2 years ago, like is this
Yeah.
product even still here? Is No one's buying this, clearly not a cool product. And
Hmm.
then we want to find ways to keep star rating above 4.2 ideally.
Yeah.
But so just again, looking at product reviews specifically, about 1 out of 10 buyers are going to sort of organically leave a review after receiving a product,
Hmm.
whether that's incentivized, like 10% off your next purchase if you leave a review or not.
Yeah.
What we'll do at Cohley, and this is becoming one of our primary offerings, is actually help work with the client to find communities of creators, or of just reviewers who they can actually send product to in exchange for a review. And we'll do a variety of different things throughout that process. We can conduct surveys with those people.
Hmm.
The reviewers can ask questions related to the product. Hey, am
Hmm.
I using it right? And we can, by the end, have great survey data from this cohort of reviewers. We have in-depth reviews that are hitting on core product attributes. We're not going to slap them on the wrist if they leave a 3-star review and
Right.
have XYZ, because so long as they've had the opportunity to use it, they've had the
Hmm.
opportunity to ask questions, we want an honest review
Yeah.
that's thorough, and ideally that includes images that kind of bring it to life. So that's a huge way that we add value for clients, is we help to address those product review gaps
Hmm.
through communities of people who are relevant. So sometimes, if we're just talking about reviewing a candy bar or a spindrift, that's applicable to anyone. A
Hmm.
lot of times we'll work with products or companies with products that are a little bit more niche.
Yeah.
This is for hypoallergenic cats.
Hmm.
We did something last year for the Acorns app where we needed people who had squirrels.
Hmm.
That's a little more rare, even though you could
Right.
have a squirrel as a pet.
Right.
No offense if you have a pet squirrel, Arlen, but
No, I don't. There's plenty enough outside.
yes, 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 indeed. So, yeah, I don't think my dog would be too happy about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so sometimes there are more niche needs, and part of our job is to make sure that we have the communities within our network to link those brands up with
Okay.
the right people so that they can take in the products, review them, give
Yeah.
great feedback, leave the product review, and all just in exchange for free product, of course.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, the community part is very important. You've got to find those communities to be able to get them, and
Amplify the
yeah,
voice. Yep.
yeah, and incentivize them is the bottom line. Because these days, you can get some trusted loyal customers that will do it with no incentive, but you
Hmm.
do have to sweeten the pot a little bit to get them to take their time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there is no impact on conversion rate when we look at incentivized reviews versus reviews left
Okay,
organically.
okay,
Yeah, some people are surprised by, but no
yeah,
impact.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I do think that if it's clearly, if a brand is saying, "Hey, you better leave a 5-star review, or else,"
yeah,
you're gonna sense that inauthenticity from the brand.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
incredible how discerning today's consumers are
Hmm.
around brand authenticity,
Yeah.
especially when you look at like millennials, Gen Z, been marketed to on every single medium from like the day they were born.
Hmm.
They're pretty good BS meters at this point.
Yep, this is true. Yeah, you can't force the consumer's hand. I mean, you could try. I know brands do this all the time. Try to
Hmm.
force them to do the high review. But yeah,
Right.
people these days they're looking for authentic brands to deal with. So
Again, it's like back to the authenticity piece. Like if there's a collection of negative reviews, look at those reviews objectively and spot the trends, and listen to your customers.
yeah,
They can be great directional guides for ways to improve existing products, or iterate on a certain concept and build a new one.
yeah,
What great inspiration.
hmm yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, Thomas, we get ready to wrap things up. I wanted to see, how do you envision the overall evolution of product page content?
Hmm. So the old way of viewing a product page from a brand perspective is to launch a product, make sure there's some reviews on there, slap some images on there, and
Yeah,
then forget about it.
yeah,
The new way as you might have guessed, is a lot different than that. You treat these product pages like they're living, breathing organisms, and you're constantly tending to that garden. So if you think about, Walmart or Target, they both have their own sort of unique scorecards that's unique to specific product pages. How good is the product description, the title, all of this? Where we can impact that is getting fresh imagery, testimonial, video testimonials, and fresh product reviews that speak to the unique attributes of the actual product. So we always talk about conversion rate lift and engagement rate this, and all those stats are great, but the reason that this content on a product page is so important is we're trying to give the consumer the information that they're looking for and the confidence that they need to make a quick, informed purchase.
Yeah.
If they land on your product page and they're not able to find the information they need, they're not trusting what they're seeing, there's not enough reviews, there's no recent reviews, everything's 5-star, not passing the BS meter type reviews, they're just going to go somewhere else because they have a lot of consumer choice. It's true that e-commerce spend is continuing to skyrocket, but consumers have a lot of choice these days. So you gotta put your best foot forward, gotta tell great stories, and you have to leverage real people, the real voice of the shopper in order to connect with consumers and win them over. And again, like ideally you make quality products, and that's not a one-time purchase. They're continuing to buy from you, and all of that hard work on the marketing side is well worth it.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very well said. And I like the analogy that you said as far as these product pages are almost a living, you got to look at them and being a living, breathing organism that you got to consistently tend to make tweaks, pictures, text, content, always checking the reviews. Yeah. So it's not like it's not a set it and forget it thing. You gotta tend to them.
It's overwhelming, but it's well worth the effort and the scrutiny for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Well, Tom, this has been an awesome conversation. Definitely appreciated you coming on. I've learned a lot, and I know our listeners and viewers have as well. But to close things out, I'd like to switch gears just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
I won a car on The Price is Right when I was in college.
Okay.
That's still my 15 minutes of fame,
wow.
I think. It was Bob Barker's last year.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty darn special. I think I have the award for the worst armpit stains in the history of television. So I'm going to cling to that. Yeah, it was bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought maybe
that's awesome. How far did you get?
I got called up. I was the last person called up. One bid on an electric guitar.
Okay.
One that got up, played a game called One Away. Won a Dodge minivan, gold Dodge Caravan.
Okay, awesome.
And then I got to the Showcase Showdown, and the person in front of me got a perfect 100. So I couldn't beat that. But yeah, it was a special experience.
You got all the way to the Showcase Showdown. That's good stuff. And you won a car. Okay.
I did, yeah.
That's
probably my fun fact.
Yeah, that's a great fun fact, man. Yeah, not too many people can say they've been on The Price is Right and at least gotten that far, for sure.
Yeah, I coincidentally met someone yesterday who was on The Price is Right, which it's not something that happens every day. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tom. I really appreciate that. Lastly, before we do let you go, if our viewers and listeners want to pick your brain any more about this whole world of content, product page, development, reviews, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, connect with me via email, tom@cohley.com. That's COHLEY.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Tom Logan. Hop on Cohley.com, do some research. If you fill out that form, I'll make sure to say hello and be sure to say that Arlen sent you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely have the link to the website in the show notes so people can connect with you, and also recommend that they connect with you on the various social networks like LinkedIn. All right, Tom, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We really appreciate having you on the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks, Arlen. You're a wonderful host.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for listening to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.